Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course, but the complete introduction to programming with JavaScript. So in the past few classes we had a lot of practice about this programming language, so we've practiced everything that we saw, what we saw from the beginning of the course. And what exactly I want to talk about today in this part of the course is actually about statements. So you'll see there is the if statement that is pretty used, but we also have some variations of the if statement that we are going to see in this class. And it's really important to know, so you'll see it's really present, especially in, not only in JavaScript, but in all programming languages. This statement is really useful. It's a really important point of a lot of applications, so you'll see it's really important for you guys to understand it, but don't worry. Now we're gonna talk about the theory around the if statement, and the next few classes we're going to practice it a little bit. So let's start. All right, so basically the if statement is you have three different parts of the if statement. You have the if statement, you have the else statement, and you have the else if statement. So the first thing that we are going to talk about will be the if statement. So it's used to execute a certain line of code if a certain element is true. So the way it's gonna be written is pretty simple. So it works with the conditions. So basically you're going to write down a certain condition. So a condition can be something as simple as I want a certain variable to be equal to a certain word. It could be, for example, I want my variable to be equal to a, or to be equal to 1. Or, for example, I want my variable to be greater than 5, or any other conditions. So basically, if the condition is respected, we're going to return this line of code right there. So if we start right here, so if a certain condition is respected, we open up those brackets right there, and we write down the code that will be executed. So the first part of the if statement is basically the condition, and the second part of the if statement is basically the code that will be executed. All right, so in if, for example, the condition is true, so the code will be executed. If the condition is false, nothing will be executed. Now, this is where we can use the else statement. So this statement is used with the if statement. It's executed when the if statement is false. So basically, if you just write down your if statement, what's going to happen? If, for example, your statement is false, well, nothing will be executed. This is where you want to add your else statement. So as you can see here, you will have if a certain condition is true. You want to execute the code. So let's say, for example, if a is equal to 5, I want to return a is equal to 5 right there. Else, so in the case that this is false, I want to return a is not equal to 5, so write it down. So it's possible to do it with the use of the else statement. So basically, if the if statement verifies if a value is true, the else statement will return something if the condition of the if statement is not true, so if it's false. Now the last statement that we are going to work with will be the else if statement. So this statement is used with the if statement. It's executed when the if statement is false as well. So in this case, if, for example, how we can see it is actually pretty simple. I'm gonna try to simplify it as much as I can. So you have the if statement that will open up and verify a certain condition. You will have the else statement that will close the if statement. So in the case that the if statement is false, you want to return you want to verify the else statement. And the else if statement will actually verify other conditions. So let's say, for example, if my first condition is true, I want to return this line of code. But if my if statement condition is false, I want to verify another condition. So it's possible to do with the use of the else if statement. So here, for example, I will use the if statement. So if the condition is true, I want to return this line of code. If it's false, I want to verify this condition. So if this condition is true, I want to return this line of code. If it's false, I want to verify this condition. So by using another else if statement. So those three statements really works together. So you have the if statement, the else statement, as well as the else if statement. So usually it starts with the if statement. Well, not usually, but every time it starts with the if statement. Then in the middle, you will have the else if statements to verify some other conditions. And at the end, you will have the else statement in the case that the if statement is really not true. So I hope you guys right now understand a little bit more how all this works. Don't worry, we're gonna practice them all in the next few classes. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class.